Why, hello there, my Tanukers. How are you doing? I got a hold of the creatively named back button attachment for the Dualshock 4, or the PlayStation 4 controller, which is, as the name suggests, something that adds buttons to the backside of the controller, which makes it a sort of alternative to a SCUF controller. I'm actually glad that I waited on getting a SCUF. I've been considering getting a SCUF or a Battle Beaver custom, and so I'm glad that I waited because, as you can see, this is only $30, which is much cheaper than a SCUF. So here's the backside, 2 programmable buttons. It has an OLED screen, which is a bit bizarre, so you can change profiles. And so this existing sort of surprised me. I didn't even know that they were making this. I found out about it because of videos. I saw a video on YouTube about it, and so I knew I had to go get one. So I went to Best Buy today. They didn't have one, so I asked the employee if they could check if it was in stock, and so they checked, and they said that it wasn't coming out until February 4th. But I knew that was weird because I've seen videos of people having them already, so I went and checked GameStop, and GameStop, that's where I got it from. GameStop has had these since Monday, even though Best Buy is getting them later. So if you're wanting to get one of these yourself, you may want to check GameStop instead of Best Buy, depending on when you're watching this, if you're watching this shortly after the upload. But anyways, let's get this open. So whenever I have a sticker like this, I just push in to make the sticker come off instead of trying to cut it or something like that. Like so. It's not that sticky. Important, read first. So, notes for a successful setup. Turn off your controller before attaching. Use this product only with Dualshock 4, obviously. A lot of people are suspecting there's a rumor going around that the PS5 controller is going to have back buttons on it by default, and that this device is sort of a prototype for the PS5 controller, which doesn't seem that far-fetched, but I've even heard another theory. I saw some people talking about a theory that they made that the PS4 controllers are going to be able to work, because you know how the PS5 is rumored to have a lot of backwards compatibility. So consistent with that, or at least an addendum to that, I saw some people theorizing that the PS4 controllers will work with the PS5, but because the base PS5 controller is going to have back buttons on it, to make the PS4 controller compatible with the PS5, this is why this device exists, so that way it can have all the buttons a PS5 controller would have. I don't think that's as likely, but that would be really cool. Yeah, automatically you would think that it doesn't make very much business sense because they're not going to be selling as many PS5 controllers if they do that, but it is a good way to develop goodwill with their audience. Just like how if the PS5 really is backwards compatible, that would be a good way of developing goodwill with its constituents, even if it's not necessarily, in the short term, a good business decision. Anyways, so here's the device itself. A lot of room in this box. Oh yeah, and this is consistent with what the GameStop employee told me. So if for whatever reason I just didn't read this or something, the GameStop employee presumably has one or something, because he even told me that it has to be turned off for it to work. And that he also said that it was a little difficult to put in, so I'll have to be a bit aggressive with that if it's not going in. But obviously I don't want to break anything because it goes in through the headphone jack. So this must just be more informational stuff, more safety stuff. Talking about the profiles, I will look at that later when I test it out for real, when I test it out with a game. Very smooth. Time to get my smudgy fingerprints all over it. And of course, this is supposed to come off. Fingerprint. So the buttons feel very clicky. They feel like a mouse pad. I was really wondering how these were going to feel. That was my biggest curiosity. And they feel like a mouse. They feel like the keys, you know, the keys you'd click on a mouse. So that's actually really nice. And there is the plug that goes into the headphone jack. So let's try this out on my Doom controller. Speaking of Doom, I can't wait for Doom Eternal. That might actually be a good game to play this with, by the way. Coincidentally. I want to make sure this is going in straight. Don't want to force anything, though. He said it was hard to put in, so I might have to force it a little bit. Here we go. So it looks like it's in place and everything. Buttons are in a pretty good spot, as you can see. Yes, my hands are very sweaty. They're usually like that. So as you can see, they're pretty reachable with your middle finger, although you could use your index finger or your ring finger or your index finger if you wanted to, but naturally, your middle finger rests on them. And I have no trouble reaching them. So, feels nice. Doesn't look particularly ugly by any means. Obviously, it adds mass to your controller, as you would expect, but nothing too unsightly by any means. So that should conclude the unboxing portion of the video. Now let's go test the thing. Welcome back, my Tanukers. The game I have decided to test the attachment on is none other than my favorite game as of late, Devil May Cry 5, because the whole reason you would want something like this is if you need to complete a sequence of inputs very quickly, right? Otherwise, you would just do things like press triangle and then X, but you're trying to cut out that travel time between pressing triangle and X, right? I've set up a little controller cam here so you can see everything. And so the idea behind this is that I can use this instead of X. And of course, I've tested it already. I've already mapped the buttons, so conveniently, DMC5 has inputs displayed on screen, so when I press this, it's showing up as the X face button, or cross button. I know there's some debate over how to pronounce that. I think cross is the official name for it, but all these others are shapes. Why would you randomly call one something that's not a shape? Square, triangle, O, X. Anyways, that's beside the point. So if you look at the screen here, the light that you see on it right now is actually the light from my webcam, so ignore that. But if you press it, you can see which profile you're using. If it'll focus here. There it is. Player 1. And as you can see, I have the X button for this side, and I actually have nothing on the left side because I actually set something on the left side, but I kept accidentally pressing it because that's something I want to point out. If you're going to assign both sides something here, it's actually sort of, well, it's usually, I guess it's because I hold the controller fairly tightly, and so I had to keep making a conscious effort not to accidentally press this because I'm so used to gripping the handle here. So I just went ahead and unassigned that because I only need one for the jump button. So that's just something you're going to have to get used to. And I can show you all the inputs. So to reassign a profile, you hold it for 1 second, and it starts flashing. And then triangle, O, X, or cross, square. Something I'm surprised by is that you can actually assign these two directional inputs on the D-pad as well. That's very nice. So as you can see, down, left. It is left. Is it? I don't know if that's left or right, but either way, left and right's in there. Because I don't know if it means... Because if I were to turn it around and look at it, it would be facing one direction, but then when I turn it around this way, it's facing another direction. Whoops. Anyways. L1, R1. Focus. Focus. There. Anyways, you get the point. Shoulder buttons, you can program them to L3 and R3 as well, which is nice, because sometimes L3 and R3 are a bit tricky to input, for me at least. It feels very awkward. And then the options button, which is surprising, since the options button on a DualShock 4 is basically start. And then, of course, nothing, which is what I have it set to. then if you leave it there for a while, it will do that. And be back in a mode where you don't have to really think about the screen unless you want to change the profile or redo the input. So anyways, there's a thing, for anyone that doesn't know, playing Devil May Cry at a high level, it's not required by any means, but to play it at the max level, to play this game at a high of a level as possible, you do a thing called jump canceling. Basically, the idea behind jump canceling, and keep in mind, I haven't played this game since I beat Bloody Palace, which was early December last year. I beat Bloody Palace early December last year, and that took a lot of practice, so I played this game a lot, and I've been taking a break since then. But anyways, the idea behind jump canceling is that... Not that. The idea behind jump canceling is that you want to cancel the end lag. So after the active frames come out, of course, you want to cancel the end lag of an attack with your jump, right? But you only want to use the startup frames of the jump to cancel the end lag of your attack animation. And then do something like that. Or, you get the point. You want to... So after you cancel the end lag of an attack with your jump, you only want to cancel it with the startup frames of the jump. And then, before the jump actually takes you up, pointing up, before the jump actually takes you up, you want to do another attack to interrupt the jump. So you're only using the first few frames of your jump to act as a cancel, right? If that sounded complicated, don't think too hard about it. So basically, I would do something like this, and I'm using the X face button here because I have to really program myself. I'll demonstrate it with this afterwards, but I want to just demonstrate what jump canceling is first, and to make sure I can still do it, because let's say I can't do it just by pressing the face buttons. If I were to just try jump canceling with these new buttons and then it didn't work, I wouldn't want to think that it was because they weren't working when in fact it was me, right? I want to isolate the variables here. So let's see if I can do a simple jump cancel combo with the face button, first of all. So something like that, right? See how I did the attack that would normally take me downwards? Anyway, so now I basically want to do the same thing, but pressing this instead of X. And so I have to really make a conscious effort here, because I'm so used to doing combos and stuff in this game without even thinking about it since I played this game so long, and it just becomes muscle memory, so now I have to actually consciously think about it again. So let me just get used to pressing this as a jump. So that's just a me thing. I need to somehow stop doing that. I might remap. I might remap my lock-on button to R2, so that way it'll be much easier to hold R2 and press one of these things, so I don't have to basically have R2 in between my index and middle finger. It's probably what I'm going to do, actually. Anyways, let's try this a few more times. I need to really isolate if I am, in fact, doing that. So let's go ahead and map lock-on to R2 right now. Controls. Lock-on, R1. Double trigger R2. Make that R1. Make this R2. So now I know if it keeps happening, I'm going to be more convinced it's the attachment and not me. Whoops. So used to hitting R1 there. Okay, so I'm holding R2 now. This feels weird. I'm so used to holding R1 for lock-on. Anyways. Hey, we did it! Nice! Let's get one more. Ooh. Nice. Okay, so it is in fact possible to do jump canceling with the DualShock 4 back button attachment. Obviously, though, if you're as used to playing this game with a regular... If you're as used to playing this game with a regular DualShock 4 as me, then it's going to take some getting used to feeling these on the back and getting used to doing inputs like that. But it is most definitely possible, and I predict that once I get used to it, it'll be much better. Plus, even if you don't use these that often, even if you wind up using X most of the time, it's still nice to have that option, because all this does is add options, right? So I'd say that's a wrap. Let me know if you have any questions, and don't forget to subscribe. I will see you guys later.